So after a sloppy Week 1 win versus the Patriots, the Eagles will turn right around and face the Minnesota Vikings to kick off Week 2 of the NFL season on Thursday night, and with the game approaching so quickly, it seems like the Eagles could be preparing to make some big changes, as the Eagles just know that they have to be better than they were in Week 1 moving forward, and with some recent news, there's reason to believe that things could look much different from Week 1 on Thursday versus the Vikings, and that applies in multiple ways, as now that the Birds are dealing with some significant injuries to key contributors, they will be relying a lot more heavily on a few different guys to step into much bigger roles and perform. So can those guys have success, and overall, can the Eagles bounce back from their Week 1 performance with a dominant effort on Thursday versus the Vikings? Well, we're going to talk about all that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So the Eagles will enter their Week 2 contest with the Vikings sitting at 1-0 after beating the Patriots on Sunday, but despite the win, we know that Eagles fans and the Eagles themselves are not satisfied with how that game actually played out, because everyone knows that the Eagles could be so much better than they showed on Sunday. I mean, offensively, they were sloppy, uncreative, and just overall, it was statistically one of the worst offensive games of the Nick Sirianni era in Philly, and Brian Johnson definitely did not have a good debut calling plays as the offensive coordinator. And then defensively, there were definitely some positives, and the unit did have their moments, but they also really struggled at times, whether that be because of poor play calling or just bad execution. So overall, despite being 1-0, the Birds are definitely looking to have a bounce-back performance on Thursday. And the same can be said for their opponent in the Minnesota Vikings, as they're coming off a really disappointing start to their season, as they dropped their opener at home to the Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a score of 20-17, where overall, the team just didn't execute. I mean, they did have their moments, and if you look at the stat sheet, Kirk Cousins threw for over 300 yards, and Justin Jefferson had a very good day statistically, but overall, the team really did just struggle, with their biggest problem in the loss being turnovers, as Kirk Cousins lost 2 fumbles, and he also threw an interception. So both these teams are going to want to come out here and put their struggles behind them with a much better performance on Thursday. But both teams are going to have some adversity to deal with in the form of injuries. Now for the Vikings, their offensive line is pretty banged up right now, with center Garrett Bradberry not practicing both Monday and Tuesday, and tackle Christian Darrisaw being limited, so the Eagles' defensive line is definitely going to look to take advantage of that, and then the Vikings also had outside linebacker Marcus Davenport limited with an ankle injury. But now switching over to the Eagles, the injury report for this week is much longer than it was ahead of last game, starting with Nakobe Dean, who obviously is going to miss this game with a foot injury, and just recently, Dean was placed on IR, so he's going to be out until at least Week 6, which is definitely a really tough break for the second-year player, but hopefully he returns better than ever. Then we also have All-Pro cornerback James Bradberry still in concussion protocol, so it's pretty much guaranteed at this point that he's going to miss the Thursday night matchup versus the Vikings, and then a couple more guys are also listed on the injury report, one of those guys being defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, who's dealing with a rib injury. Now it has been reported by Derek Gunn that it looks like Fletcher Cox should be ready to go for Thursday, and then to add on to that, safety Reed Blankenship is also dealing with a rib injury, and he was listed as missing practice on Tuesday, even though again, it was just a walkthrough. And that's definitely interesting because Reed did not miss much time in the Patriots game. I mean, he just went out for a few plays when he initially got injured, and then he came right back in, but now this injury has apparently taken a toll on him during the week after the game, and as of now, according to reports, it looks like it's trending in the direction of Reed Blankenship not being ready to go for Thursday's contest, which will definitely be a big blow for this Eagles defense. One, because of how good he played on Sunday. He finished the week as a top 5 graded safety in the entire NFL for Week 1, and he was also the 3rd highest graded Eagle for the game, and he also, on top of that, led the Birds in tackles with 12, which also puts him at 7th in the entire league as of now, so just his play on the field would be missed. Plus, on top of that, the Eagles already have pretty questionable depth at the safety position, so guys like Sidney Brown or maybe Terrell Edmonds are going to be relied upon a lot more to step up in his absence if he doesn't play. And also, with Nakobe Dean out, the Eagles are going to need to rely on someone else to take over green dot responsibilities and call the plays. I think the top candidate for that was Blankenship, but now that it looks like he's not going to be ready to go, it's going to have to fall to one of the other linebackers more than likely. More on that later. But now for the final guy on the injury report, we have running back Kenneth Gainwell, who's dealing with, you guessed it, a rib injury. And this is kind of weird because I don't really remember any point in the game where Kenny went down with an injury, but he's now been listed as missing practice on both Monday and Tuesday, and his status for Thursday is currently in serious doubt, as there's also a report out saying that he's also trending in the direction of not playing just like Blankenship. So with Gainwell's status in question, could we potentially see a much heavier workload for DeAndre Swift? I mean, even if Kenny does suit up, I still think that DeAndre Swift clearly needs to be more involved. I mean, for this guy to only have 2 touches on Sunday was just ridiculous. It should never happen, and the Eagles are going to need to find a way to make a change and get him more involved. I mean, he's an absolute weapon that can do multiple things, and he can really be a great player for this team if given the chance. He just needs to be used correctly and also remain healthy. So again, with Gainwell's status in question, plus the Eagles' ineffectiveness in the run game and just offensively in general on Sunday, I would expect to see DeAndre Swift a lot more versus the Vikings, whether it be him running the football or him catching it out of the backfield and providing another receiving threat for Jalen Hurts. So I guess we'll see if the Eagles use Swift more on Thursday, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. What are you expecting from Swift moving into this game, especially if Kenny doesn't play? But then on top of that, you would have to wonder whether the Eagles want to activate Rashaad Penny for this game, as of course he was a surprising healthy scratch on Sunday, which I didn't really agree with that in the first place, but now with Kenny potentially missing this game with an injury, Penny could get his opportunity, which I would absolutely love, because we obviously know that Penny has a lot of ability and just has to stay healthy, and I really do like Rashaad Penny as more of a physical type of running back. I think he could be a really effective short yardage goal line type of back, and also like a bruiser that could kind of just run out the clock at the end of the game, say if the Eagles have a lead and they just want to run out the clock a little bit. And in this game specifically, I'd really like to see a 1-2 punch of Swift and Penny if Gainwell does end up missing time, as I think that could be really effective. And someone else who I think is going to be really effective on Thursday is tight end Dallas Goedert, who after having a game where he recorded just 1 target and no catches, he surely wants to bounce back, and I'm 100% confident that he will. I mean, he's too talented to not have a bounce back performance, and I'm sure that the Eagles coaching staff will make an effort to get Goedert the ball right away after not using him at all in the opener. I mean, we saw pretty much the same exact thing with Devontae Smith last year, who had no catches versus the Lions in week 1, but then in week 2, the coaching staff got him the ball immediately, and he ended up having a good game and obviously a great season, so I expect a very similar thing with Goedert here. And both head coach Nick Sirianni and offensive coordinator Brian Johnson know that they can't not utilize these great weapons that they have, and Johnson specifically had some very revealing comments regarding their future plans on how to avoid doing that again on Thursday.
You know, like you said, that was something that really took place in game 1 last year, you know, with Devontae, where he ended up without a catch, but, you know, there were 4 or 5 times where the ball could or should have went his way. So, you know, we have to be really, really mindful of that, and get, you know, all of our players involved. You know, so I think that's a scenario. You know, Dallas obviously is a fantastic player, and you know, we got to do a great job to try to find ways to get him the ball.
So overall, it sounds like the Eagles coaching staff is going to be better prepared to try and utilize all their weapons this go around versus the Vikings, including Goedert and Swift. And for the offense and Brian Johnson in general, I'm expecting a much better day. I mean, Johnson knows he did not have a great debut, and he specifically told the media that the offense was just too sloppy and it has to be better, but now they're going to get the chance to go up against a worse defense with the Vikings than the one that they faced on Sunday in the Patriots, and on top of that, the offense's rust has kind of been shaken off now that week 1 is in the books. So for Jalen Hurts, I'm expecting a much better day. I think things will look a lot sharper and more precise on Thursday night. And then in terms of the play calling, I'm just hoping that Brian Johnson learns from his mistakes and runs a more creative offense than the one that he did versus the Pats in week 1, and if they do that while utilizing the other weapons that they didn't really utilize on Sunday, I'm expecting a much better day for the offense. But that's just one side of the ball. I haven't even talked about what changes the defense must make to improve for Thursday's game versus the Vikings. So don't worry, we're going to get to that in just a minute, but real quick here, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been consistently watching these videos, you're enjoying them, and you love the Philadelphia Eagles and don't want to miss any coverage coming in the future, make sure you fix that right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss when any other videos are uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So on Sunday versus the Pats, the Eagles pass rush was great, particularly Jalen Carter, who was just absolutely dominant, and he, Fletcher Cox, and Milton Williams actually were ranked 1st, 2nd, and 3rd among interior rushers for get-off speed in week 1 in the entire NFL, which is just insane if you think about it. But the defensive line as a whole was really able to get pressure. That definitely wasn't the issue. Where the defense was bad was on the back end in coverage. The Pats had a great game plan to get the ball out of Mac Jones' hands fast, and it worked really well because the Eagles were kind of sitting back in soft coverages the whole game, and there was also a lot of miscommunication and just a lack of execution going on as a whole. So that's all stuff the Eagles must clean up, and a lot of that was likely going to fall on Reed Blankenship, but now with his status in serious question, I think that's going to fall more on Christian Ellis or maybe Zach Cunningham. I'm not sure, I guess we'll see. But whoever's going to end up calling the plays on Thursday night, that's going to be a big responsibility, and they're going to have the Eagles communicating a little bit better than they were on Sunday. But in regards to the soft coverages, Sean Desai just needs to be more aggressive. He needs to play up more, because if you do that, Kirk Cousins isn't going to be able to throw just these little, short, quick dump-off passes right away and gash the Eagles the same way that Mac Jones did, because in this scenario where you're pressing your corners up more, you're making it a little harder on the receivers to create separation instantly. In that case, the pass rush is going to have just a little bit more time to get home, and I think those sack numbers could start to climb really, really fast, and the defense as a whole could just have a dominant day if they do those things. But trust me, if the Eagles don't make this adjustment, they're probably going to struggle again. And look, I'm not saying it's not scary to make this adjustment and be more aggressive, especially with the Vikings having a weapon on the outside that can make you pay really, really fast for playing up on him in Justin Jefferson, but It's just going to be something the Eagles have to do, because if they don't, they're going to get picked apart once again, just like Sunday. And also, when going up against Justin Jefferson, it really helps to have one of the top cornerbacks in the game in Darius Slay, and he's just going to have to handle his matchup once again, as he did last year when these two matched up, as Justin Jefferson had just one catch for 7 yards against Slay in their matchup last season, and Slay also had 2 interceptions in that game. Now, I'm not saying that Slay's going to have that dominant of a performance once again. I mean, that was just insane what he was able to do last year, but I do think he'll still be able to hold his own, especially if Desai makes this adjustment and the pass rush is able to get home a little more. I mean, that'll just make Slay's job easier. But now with Slay drawing that matchup with Jefferson and likely shadowing him, that's going to leave a big responsibility on the second-year undrafted player in cornerback Josh Jobe, as he's going to get the start if James Bradberry isn't able to suit up, which again, it's looking like he's not going to, so Jobe's definitely going to have to come ready to play. Now, luckily for the Eagles, it seems like Jobe is ready for this opportunity. He played well for the most part when he checked in on Sunday after Bradberry went out, and he's also coming off a really great training camp and offseason where he apparently made great strides forward in his game and just got a better understanding overall of what he's supposed to be, how the NFL game works, and just how to be a better player overall. Plus, the Eagles coaches also seem to have a ton of confidence in Jobe, so I'm excited to see what the big, athletic, and physical corner will do in this matchup versus the impressive rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison. Now, if Jobe and Slay are able to hold up and the defense and offense both make the necessary adjustments after Sunday's win, I think you could be looking at a pretty dominant effort for the Eagles on Thursday. Now, do I think they'll fix everything? Probably not, which is why I'm going to say the Eagles win by a final score of 30-20. I think it'll be a big improvement from Sunday, but not quite a dominating win, although it will be much smoother than week 1. But what do you guys think? Give me your score predictions for this game down in the comments below. And also, if you did enjoy this video and want to see others like it again, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy and want to show some support. And also, if you want to watch another video recapping the Eagles' win over the Patriots in week 1 and also some other news from earlier in the week, you can go watch this right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.